Folks, you have a few minutes to get on board. Check and make sure you get on Facebook. Yep. A minute, we'll get it up. On board. A minute, we'll get it up. Right, good morning, Stuart. Morning, Ali. Morning, Chris. Morning, Susie. Morning, John. Morning, Harry. Morning, Alex. Morning, Robert. Morning, Diane. Right, folks, just a couple of things before we get underway. Now, I'm very grateful to all you who share my videos from YouTube or from Facebook. If you're sharing from Facebook, folks, do me a favour, wait until the broadcast is finished. Give me a couple of minutes to make the video public, or else when you post it in your groups, the content's not available. Okay, so if you're on Facebook and you're sharing this, please wait until the broadcast is finished. Thank you very much. All right then, so let's get started. How many we got on board? That's about enough. All right, it's Indie Truck Davey out the truck and at home in his office in Salisbury, North Lanarkshire, where it's a clear morning, 10 degrees, mostly sunny. That's the weather forecast for Salisbury, North Lanarkshire. If you want to know what the weather's like where you are, look at your own bloody windy. All right, so let's get this review of the news underway. This is a review of the weekend's news for the 23rd, 24th and 25th of September, but at least the stories I've picked to talk about. All right, so let's start on Friday. Friday started with two main themes in the rags. Millions face mortgage hikes as Bank of England raises the interest base rate to 2.25%. The other theme in the rags is Kwasi Kwarteng's mini budget. The rags speculate on what taxes will be cut. Wasn't it hard to speculate? Most of it had been announced anyway. Now, on the hike to interest rates by the Bank of England, it's in an attempt to dampen inflation. It won't work as the inflationary pressures are being created by mainly external factors, such as the inflated price of gas on the international markets. All right. Now, moving on, Friday. Back here in Scotland, and the Scottish Government bad stories are in full flow. NHS bad story is staff may strike after 5% pay rise had been rejected. And the other Scottish Government bad story was once again transport and ferries. Passengers in the MV Alfred to sue Pentlands Ferries over injuries which happened when the boat ran aground on a crossing for Orkney. The boat ran aground on the Isle of Swannat. 6 passengers have raised a compensation claim. Solicitors representing the people say they suffered fractures, sprains and soft tissue injuries. The incident's under investigation. I haven't watched July, by the way. The incident's under investigation by the Marine Accident Investigation Board. Pentlands Ferries says they are cooperating with the board, and it wouldn't be appropriate to comment on either the investigation or the legal action. Right, so ferry runs aground, somebody gets hurt, got to sue, isn't he? Lost the earnings or that sort of thing. Right, moving on Friday, and down that road, Chancellor in the Exchequer is on his feet in the Commons to deliver his mini budget. Kwarteng lays out his plan to transfer huge sums of public money into private hands. It's the biggest transfer ever seen. Now, and I get it up you to the poorest of our society. Kwarteng sets out a budget for the rich and a push for growth. But as we all know, there is no growth if we Mrs. McGumpers no money in our pocket. If you want to grow your economy, put money straight in ordinary people's pockets, not in the pockets of the rich. Trickle-down economics doesn't work. But anyway, so the theory is that give money to the rich, they'll it'll trickle down to the poor. It doesn't work. It's a bit like Davy going along the street and seeing a beggar, and instead of giving the beggar a tenner, gets in his car, jumps to Milngavie, one of the most affluent areas, finds the biggest house and sticks a tenner through the letterbox, hoping that eventually the person who gets the tenner will spend it and something will reach the beggar. Absolute bloody madness. Anyway, say it's got nothing to do with trickle-down economics. Kirtang and trusts are just getting money to the top 10, and that includes lifting the cap on bankers' bonuses. Now, trying to bolster with the bankers' bonuses, they're trying to bolster the City of London. You know, because after Brexit, London's position as a world financial market, banking centre, is under threat. Now, the world's looking on agog at what they're doing to the people here in Britain, especially the poorest, because people are going to die this winter. And as I said on Friday in a couple of posts, when I went through that budget on Friday night, I had tears running down my eyes, folks. And they were genuine tears. Our people are going to die because of these bastards. Right, before I start greeting again, moving on. Friday in Kirtang. While Kirtang's on his feet and the Commons, killing the poor with his mini budget, currency traders are dumping the pound. The pound fell to $1 to $1.08. All right, the lowest it's been in 37 years. And that gets more interesting on Saturday. So it does. Right, moving on Friday, back here in Scotland, Dougie Ross to you and me is in the sugar again after making an absolute buffoon of himself again. Ross had claimed a patient in an Ayrshire hospital had waited in A&E for 84 hours. Turns out the patient had been actually treated very quickly, but was in the A&E department for so long, because a couple of the wards in the Crosshouse Hospital were shut due to COVID. So they'd set up a wee emergency ward to one side of the A&E where they could hold the odd patient until beds became available on the wards. Now, the person whose mother it was that had the 84-hour wait to get onto a ward, not to get treated, to go onto a ward, said she'd been perfectly comfortable where she was. And she'd been treated quite quickly and quite well. I'll pick that one up, but I wasn't going to mention it until I get to after the paper round up. But exactly. That's what the pound's running at this morning. The run on the pound's continued. All right. Now, it's in a range between $1.3 to $1.07, depending on what tracker you're watching. The tracker I'm watching right now has it at $1.06. So there you go. I'm actually tracking it as we speak. Right. So Dross makes an absolute muggy himself, claiming that a woman had waited 84 hours for treatment in A&E. She hadn't waited 84 hours for treatment in A&E at all. She'd been treated within the 4 hours. It just took 8 hours to get her into a ward because of COVID. There you go. So much for Sarwar claiming that the problems weren't COVID related, eh? Right, moving on. Friday, also here in Scotland, the SNP government give reaction to Kirtang's mini budget. Deputy First Minister John Swinney says the UK government are gambling on the economy, gambling on growth in the economy when nobody's got any money to spend in the economy. Basically, what John said, something I've been saying for ages. He also points out, the same as I have, that trickle-down economics has never worked. It has never worked. Trickle-down economics isn't a decent way of growing your economy, and it certainly doesn't see the redistribution of wealth. You know. Right, moving on Friday and back down the road. Kirtang's plans to alleviate the energy crisis by transferring large amounts of our money just get much more expensive. The plan is to raise 100 billion to 130 billion by selling UK government debt bonds. The Chancellor's mini budget sees the arse drop out of the bonds and gilts market As a result, Kirtang will need to offer bigger returns on the bonds that they're selling to get investors to buy the debt. So they're talking about raising 100 billion to 150 billion on the bonds market by selling UK debt to raise the money to give to the energy companies who are already making vast profits so that their bills stay low. Absolute madness. Why they don't just regulate and tax the bloody energy companies, I have no idea. There is no need whatsoever for this fast transfer of wealth from the public purse to the private sector. What it will do, though, is it will speed up the amount of poor buggers that die this winter because there's less money for public services. And what we're already hearing is that hospitals people are presenting at hospitals with malnutrition. That means they've not been able to feed themselves. This is a bloody outrage. Anyway, so it could well be that the so-called relief on energy being offered to households and businesses may have to be scaled back if they can't sell these bonds and gilts. And the way that money's fleeing the UK at the moment, it's not looking good. Right, moving on. Friday, back here in Scotland, 20,000 GMB members accept the pay offer. So the refuse collectors, cleaners and school and salary staff strike is off. Also Friday, staff at the Scottish Qualifications Authority also accept new Scottish Government pay offer. So Scottish Government getting on with a day job, settling strikes. And but there is a downside. On Friday, ScotRail tells the public of more disruption as RMT members go on strike. Now, some of it can be dealt with by ScotRail and the Scottish Government. Part of it can be because the RMT strike that's affecting Scotland is a Network Rail staff. Network Rail is reserved. And as you know, the Tories are going to war with the RMT. So, more disruption, as I say, and mainly the problems mainly stem from Westminster because Network Rail is reserved. All right. So strikes during October. In fact, there's one the weekend of the Scottish Government, the SNP conference there. So anyway, Mick Lynch tells the Scottish Government and ScotRail, you know, the RMT workers that you guys are responsible for, remember, take the cost of living crisis into consideration while making your offer. Well, as far as I can tell, the Scottish Government's been doing that anyway. Network Rail have been offering as much as they could. Sorry, no, Network Rail, ScotRail have been offering as much as they could. As you know, the train drivers here in Scotland settled for, I think it turned out to be almost 10% by the time you put in all the add-ons, you know. Right, moving on. Let's move on to Saturday. That's enough crap for Friday. Moving on, Saturday started with the reaction to the UK mini budget. The tax cuts down south have the cuckoos and the nest here in Scotland screaming for the Scottish Government to follow suit. The rags are full of pressure on the Scottish Government to make sure they don't refuse to follow suit. But the thing is, the Scottish Government will refuse to follow suit. We value our public services up here too much. Right, anyway, the rags are screaming the tax gap between Scotland and England is just growing, and that you know, we can expect rich here in Scotland to flee to England. There's a couple of things wrong with that, of course. If you're a business owner here in Scotland, which you probably have to be on 150 grand a year, it's the costs of actually relocating your factory or your workforce or your business, whatever it is, plus workforce. It's just, it doesn't make any sense. The tax cuts isn't giving you that much money that you can afford to actually upwork your business and move it. And the other thing is, people are no moving south on that sort of wage either because they get more bang for the buck. We'll get a wee bit more of that on Sunday. They get more bang for the buck up here, and we've got a better social contract. All right. So, moving on, Saturday here in Scotland, arts unionists one arts unionist replaces another arts unionist at the head of the National Trust for Scotland. A unionist nutter, Neil Oliver, is replaced by another unionist nutter, Jackie Bird, so-called BBC journalist. But there are no BBC journalists in Scotland. There are only BBC propagandists who drip feed the people stories to tell them that they are crap, that their services are crap, and that we are a lesser being than the being next door in England. That's what the BBC do here. And having arts unionist Jackie Bird at the top of National Trust for Scotland means that once again, National Trust of Scotland will have a unionist spin on Scotland's story. Moving on, Saturday. And the speculation is rife that Truss and Kirtang, as mates in the city, made a fortune by shorting on the pound. And it's beginning to look like they had the heads up on what was in the mini budget, whereas we didn't, or the OPR forecast that nearly us go to see, the Office for Budget Responsibility forecast that nearly us go to see. All right. So it would appear there's been a bit of insider trading going on, and it would appear this morning, looking at the run on the pound this morning, it's still going on. So it's believed that a 3 billion quid was hedged against the pound, and that that's what's causing the run on the pound. Now, in order to prevent that, of course, the Bank of England are having to buy back huge quantities of the currency to try and prop it up. So anyway, it would appear that there's been some insider trading going on, and the bankers have made a killing on shorting against the pound. This needs to be properly investigated. No, there will be, but it does need to be. Right, also Saturday, a climate change campaigners rail against Truss's plans for fossil fuels. Fracking is back in England, and 100 new exploration licenses issued for the North Sea oil and gas sector. All right, Truss intends to increase production of fossil fuels. Now, what's the madness in this, folks? Well, the madness is, as we already know, climate scientists are telling us we're only 8 years for the tipping point where eco systems start to break down. And the climate starts to collapse on us. Now, a report on Saturday, which we were all laughing about, is toddy farmers here in Scotland. And it's been pointed out that toddies are grown elsewhere, but it takes a huge amount of irrigation elsewhere. We've got the natural rainfall for it. So the climate disaster could be upon us. A COP26 last November is right out the window, and that's creating a stushy in the Tory party with a local shammer, who's the COP20, who's still the climate committee's president. So there's a barney going on. Now, in short-term economics could see us reaching a tipping point where there are no futures for our children in 50 to 100 years. This is absolute madness. On the bright side, of course, as we know, the Scottish Government, for years now, started under Alex Salmond, has been making the transition into renewable energies. So we're well in front of the game. But next door is a bigger place, and it produces greater emissions than us, and we cannot negate their behaviour. We cannot. No, without the powers of independence, where we can control the licences for the North Sea, and we can wean the whole of the UK away from oil and gas. But this is absolute climate madness, and it's condemning the children and their children to no future. Absolutely no future whatsoever. Mental. Right, so there's the subjects I picked for Saturday. I hope you found them entertaining. I hope you found them enjoyable. Let's move on to Sunday. Sunday started with two themes in the rags: tax cuts and Scotland's win over Ireland in the Nations Cup. All right. Now, the Britain media in Scotland pile pressure on the Scottish Government to follow suit and match Westminster's tax cuts, or watch Earners Flee Scotland. And as we've just spoken about, that's bollocks. Also Sunday, irrelevant red Tory in Scotland, Poverty Pays Sarwar, condemns the mini budget of the blue Tories and calls it economic illiteracy and moral bankruptcy. Now Sarwar, whose family business has created a cost of living crisis for its own workers for many years by refusing to pay the living wage, says the budget as a humanitarian crisis in the making. For once, Sarwar is correct. This is a humanitarian crisis in the making. But the sheer hypocrisy of a man who won't pay his own workers a living wage, complaining about him getting more money handed to him with his pals in the Tories. Nah, that's what we call crocodile tears. The man is an economic disaster to his own workforce. Now he's getting big swathes of tax back for his other cuckoos in the nest. The Tories, while chirping for the sidelines saying, outrage, outrage, kerching, kerching, kerching. You could not make it up. And I don't know why the irrelevant squad was given a column inches to write this stuff, knowing the hypocrisy of the man. Champagne socialist, my arse. Full-on Tory. That's what Sarwar is. He's also a placeman, a state placeman, just like Starmer. By the way, Sunday, just so you know, Labour conference got underway. I'm not going to cover the conference yesterday because there was not much there, actually. Well, bollocks, it's hello guys, they get down to work today. So we'll keep an eye on what's going on in the Labour conference today, all right? Right. Also Sunday, SNP Westminster Group calls for the recall of Westminster, so greater scrutiny can be made of what they are calling a tipping point in the politics of greed. Not much chance of that happening, is it? This Tory government's done one thing in 12 years, it's make sure it can't be bloody well scrutinised. Right, also Sunday, Chancellor in the Exchequer, Keir says the new Westminster regime will cut taxes again in the new year. There's something wrong with that statement, Keir. For a start, it's no new regime. The Tories have been in power since 2012, I think that's, or 2010. And this particular administration has been in place since 2019. So, anyway, so it's not a new administration, and these tax cuts that they're making, this particular government, the new head, Liz Truss, she has no mandate for the people for which she's doing. That particular administration down there was voted in the 2019 manifesto. There hasn't been a general election since, so they should only be operating on the 2019 manifesto and nothing else. If they're going to make huge changes the way they are, then they should have went to the people with a manifesto. That's not going to happen, of course. They're going to sit tight as long as they can because they know they're going to lose the next election, and they've got a couple of years more of draining the public purse and destroying public services. Also Sunday, Army to increase personnel in first time since end of Cold War. 52 billion to be spent beefing up manpower in the armed services. Now, there's two ways of looking at this, right? Now, either they know mass unemployment is coming, so it's a good time to get kids for the sink estates that are fleeing poverty, or they're expecting to get engaged in a conflict at some point in the near future. Either way, it is not good. Also Sunday, Truss plans to increase immigration to alleviate shortages in the labour market. sees the xenophobic Brexiteers go bananas, but they needn't worry. The economic crisis hitting the UK means mass unemployment, so they won't need immigration. Hey, apart from that, who's want to come to food bank poverty-ridden UK with a basket case of an economy? Nobody. Also Sunday, London to see influx of bankers from Edinburgh and New York, and Davy says, aye, they wish. The lifting of the bankers' bonus in the UK is UK-wide, so bankers in Edinburgh will get bigger bonuses and they get more bang for their buck in Scotland. Cheaper housing, cheaper nightlife and a social life, and of course, better public services. So bankers in Edinburgh are no moving to London. As I said earlier, nobody's selling a 5-bedroom townhouse in Edinburgh to buy a cupboard in London, because that's roughly what you get for the money you pay for a townhouse in Edinburgh. The other thing is, we talk about a bang for the buck. These guys are lying there in Edinburgh, and the guys in the emerging financial sector in Glasgow, I mean, the housing they can buy for the money they've got is far superior to anything they're getting down that road. They're not going anywhere. So there won't be an influx from Edinburgh, because why would they? The bank's a subsidiary of London, so whatever they're doing down there, it'll more or less match itself up here. Or maybe a wee bit less, but not much. And as for an influx of bankers from New York, don't think so. The UK economy is a basket case. London's more or less done as a financial centre. Why would you move to London where there's only a market of 65 million people to play with, when you can move to Frankfurt, Paris, Amsterdam, any of the European financial centres, and have a market of 450 million to play in? No, mental. So the papers are putting this stuff up in the vain hope that there'll be a bounce back in the city of London. No, I won't. Right, also Sunday, we're back on autumn of discontent as teachers, uni staff, Glasgow subway staff, NHS staff, and fire and rescue all contemplate strike action. What is needed at this point in time is a general strike. Now, a general strike, as we know, will crash the government, or we'll see a general election. But and the Tories know that too. So the Tories are in a race to introduce legislation to prevent that. They know a general strike, as I say, will lead to the demise of that government. And they want to stay there in 2024 because they have got shitloads more to steal for their public purse. So the race is on to curtail any chances of a general strike. But autumn strike action, very good. Time for the TUC and the STUC to sit down with all the member unions and say, let's call a strike on this day, and this day, right across the board, public and private sector. Watch this government crash like a house of cards. Right. Now, let's move on to this morning. That's what I've got for the weekend, folks. Let's move on to this morning and have a look what the paper says. Then I'll have a wee bit to say about social attitudes in Scotland. All right. So let's move on to this morning and see what this morning's papers are going to say. Because time's moving on. Scotland's paper, tax wars and A&E at over capacity warnings. The Metro has rock up and stay. The Metro has tax wars. Tories say Scotland will be left behind if SNP don't match cuts. Blackford warns changes will help rich and prolong recession. And Starmer vows to reverse top rate move for England. Right, there is no tax wars, but we'll get to that after we see what these madness and the rags have got to say. So, the Eye has Tory jitters as Kettang pledges new tax cuts. So even the backbenchers are getting nervous about the amount being stolen. The Scotsman has. Katanga hints at more tax cuts and pipeline. So we already spoke about that. I'll talk about more tax cuts in January. The thieving goes on. But as I say, Tory backbenchers are going to start to get a bit worried about it. And there'll be at least 150 of them in the red wall seats, which are going to lose their seats. Right, the Looney Ragged Daily Fail has SNP under growing pressure over Scots tax gap. I don't know. But we'll get to why they'll know when we get through the papers. The Times has Cabinet split over PM's plans to relax migration. It won't matter. Oh, as I say, it's went from immigration to migration. Migration is exactly what's going to happen. People are going to, those in the 10% are going to migrate right out of the UK. Right, the other Looney Rag, the Express has Scots A&E over capacity for an entire month. They're a shocker, eh? COVID's still running the savvy. Other infections are back because we've got demasked or we've got masks up. So hospitals are under extreme pressure, and apparently so is the health minister. So apparently Edinburgh E&E departments operated beyond capacity for every single hour of every single day last month. So there you go, one health board. The Herald has rent freeze won't work as arrears soar to 169 million. Arrears were going to soar anyway. People get no disposable income, which means that they have to tap into the rent money to feed their kids and keep the light on. The Looney Telegraph have got US will take catastrophic action if Putin using nuclear weapons, and immigration must fall amid a growth drive, trust told. So there you go. The xenophobes fight back. But as I say, there won't be any need for mass immigration because of mass influx appeal, because the market's in crisis, the economy is crashing, and that contraction means unemployment. The National has Brown's bizarre plan to stop Indy. Labour MP Murray to tell party conference that blueprint for future UK will be safer but also more radical than independence. Never heard so much pissing all my life. And we talk about federalism and doing away with the House of Lords. Labour's been talking about that for 100 fucking years. 100 years. Mayor. Anybody that falls for these red Tories crap needs to go back to school because their education's let them down. The Daily Ransom has football cup clash, street ball, brawl, hammer horror. Fan suffers serious injuries after he is battered over the head as violence erupts at match. And where was that? Oh, it was a local match. It was Perthshire versus Kilbirnie. Ah well. Now let's see what the Stars got for us. And the Star has Hugate crashes. Your name's not on the list. You can't come in. And something to do with Holly Willoughby and Phil Schofield. And something to do with jumping queues. I take it was to see the boats down the road. Mere madness in the Star. Right now, why? I was going to tell you why there isn't any tax wars going on here in Scotland. My partner in treason phoned me this morning. He says, David, do you listen to the phone in on BBC Radio Scotland? I said, no, how? He says, well, I'm listening to you this morning. He said, I'm listening to this morning, and it's on taxes. And whether the Scottish Government should follow Westminster's suit. And David reliably informs me that throughout the whole 1 hour, the Pravda were told, no, it's all right, we'll just keep taxes as they are, or raise them to improve our public services. Apparently, at the end, they managed to get one unionist, probably the pet one, they phone up in Aberdeen all the time. And he came on and complained about higher taxes here in Scotland. Technically, of course, they're no higher. The top two bands premier and when it comes to income tax. And the rest is pay the same and will do until they change the base rate to 19 pence in the pound. And of course, yep, the higher earners up here, they're not getting the advantage of having the 46% on their earnings reduced. Well, as far as we know, they'll know. Scottish Government's no way to do a budget yet, but I would hope that they wouldn't shift. But there you go. Once again, by popular acclaim here in Scotland, we're happy to pay our taxes for our public services. This idea that there's something no right doing that, this idea doing that road that public services can be done the cheap, well, you can see the state of their bloody public services. All right. Now back onto the pound. I've just had it flagged up to me that the pound is dropping again. So let's have a quick look. And we're still one, but depending on what exchange you're on, you've got 1.0368, 1.08.5, and 10368. So there is quite a range there. And what I've got in my currency converter at the moment is $1.07 to the pound. And what we're hearing is that on the Bureau de Changes at the moment, if you're changing money to euros, you're getting less than €1 to the pound. Because, of course, these currency Bureau de Changes, they need to make their commission. So, how low can it go, Alistair? That depends on how many people are hedging against it and how quick the Bank of England can buy it up to try and bolster the currency. If they can buy it up, because remember, it's trading the international markets. Yeah, there could be people sitting on it where the rest of them are hedging on it. So, interesting times ahead, folks. Now, what we're seeing right now, folks, and we may as well go kid on about it, is an absolute massive transfer of wealth from us to the 10% richest in the UK. People are going to die. And eventually, we're going to have to drag these buggers into a court, whether it's a Scottish court or a UK court, to get justice. All right. Now, I've got a wee message for you people over on the naughty state. We were late today. Get to the bloody naughty state. How dare you be late? Yeah. Right, so that's what I've got for you today, folks. I hope you found it entertaining. I hope you found it informative. Things are not looking great. That requires us and our communities to look after each other. In Scotland, we still have that community feeling. The I'm all right, Jack isn't there, is the phone in the problem. Phone in the small improves. You've got the propagandists trying to create what they're calling tax wars, the cuckoos in the nest screaming, cut taxes, cut taxes, cut taxes. You want good quality public services? Can't cut taxes. Simple as that. Okay, right. Now remember, there is a campaign going on. And so that means keep your eyes on your prize. Keep your eyes on the prize, learn your how-you-gonies, and get out there and win hearts and minds. We're already at the tipping point. The social attitude studies have shown that, and it's been progressively going towards independence since the advent of the evolution. We support for independence only falling in the very first year of the new Parliament. I'm here in Edinburgh. Ever since it's been steadily increasing. All right, so campaign is on. Propagandists are at it full pack. Get out there, get talking to people, explain what's going on to them, and tell them it's time to check out. All right. Now support independent media. Support Broadcasting Scotland, support Independence Live, support Indie Live Radio, support Caledon Media, support Trues Radio, the iScot magazine, and the national newspaper. Support independent bloggers and bloggers, and there's some right good ones out there. Wesley Riddoch, Bateman, the wee ginger dog, you know the people we're talking about, John Robertson, Professor John Robertson. Now, if these people get a crowdfunder on the go, and you can afford to throw a few shekels in the pot, please do. These guys do amazing work. And as you know, I'm not interested in your money. But as I say, if you like what I do, then please share it around and share it widely. When the broadcast finishes, please share it through Facebook, because by that time I'll have made the Facebook the Facebook Live public because I am being restricted on Facebook. All right. Now remember, COVID's still an issue. Winter's just around the corner. Temperatures are dropping. It's only 10 degrees a day, and it's lunchtime. So for this course of about 8-9 days over the temperature drop of average of 8 degrees. So remember, face coverings in closed public spaces. That's part of the guidance. Clean hands and surfaces regularly. Part of the guidance. Now, if you're feeling a wee bit under the weather, use a wee bit of savvy, a wee bit of social consciousness, and mask up to protect your neighbours and your family and the people in your community. And of course, if you're still using NHS lateral flow test, please submit your results because you live in our community and it helps us keep an eye on what's going on in our communities. All right. You look after yourselves. That's the first one of the week run. We'll be back tomorrow to do it all again. Look after yourself. Look after each other.